So let's talk about containment. You play Jake. Tell me about Jake and his role in this epidemic in this new world.
Sure. Well, Jake is he's a law enforcement officer who sort of ends up in the wrong place at the exact moment that the cordon goes up. And so he ends up trapped inside the cordon. And he's sort of a guy who's sort of an introvert and a little guarded, a little rough around the edges, and he's got a bit of a temper, and he's not used to having to step up and take the lead. He's used to following, and that's what he prefers, and that's the kind of life that he wants to lead. And so the situation forces him into a position of needing to sort of help guide everybody through it. And he, ultimately, his story is one of sort of an ordinary person sort of having to step up and become something extraordinary and find a hero within himself. And even though he hates it and he suppresses it and he fights it, he does have good instincts. He does have the capabilities of sort of stepping up to the plate and helping everybody work through this horrible situation. And that's sort of his storyline in the season. Yeah.
He kind of has the hero's journey. That's a pretty good one to have.
Yeah, he starts unable to do it or unwilling, and then he ultimately has to figure it out. So.
Well, and you mentioned the cordon. Once things start, how long does that take for the city to kind of react and contain everything?
Right. Well, the in the pilot we see, I think it's 13 days into the outbreak, we see right off the bat that's how chaotic it's going to get. And then we go back and we see them saying, oh, no, it's going to be 48 hours, it'll be taken care of. And within the first 2 days, the situation just sort of, you can see that it's not as easily going to go away as they were hoping. And it surprises everybody that the virus is really unable to be stopped in its tracks. And I think it sort of surprises everyone who steps in that they're unable to control it as much.
Well, I'm curious, you mentioned your characters with the police department, and so is Lex. How do they work together? What's their relationship like?
Yeah, they're best friends, and Lex has always sort of been like a mentor friend to Jake and sort of helped pull him out of his life before he knew Lex was he was more of a street kid, and he got into some trouble, and he was not into too much stuff, but he just wasn't as clean cut and on his game. And his family situation and his whole sort of backstory was hardened him a bit. And Lex sort of saw the ability to turn this into a positive for him and find a way to get him to use that for good in law enforcement. And sort of brought him in because they were already friends, and brought him in and got him involved. And Jake found that he liked it. And you can see that these guys know how to work together. They were baseball teammates back when they were younger, and they just get each other and they have each other's backs very naturally. They were on patrol together. These guys just clearly are in sync. And so that relationship across the boundary becomes very important in the show, because that's sort of the glue that's holding the security inside and outside together, because otherwise there's no communication. And Lex sort of ultimately challenges Jake to step up and take charge of the law enforcement inside, even though that's totally not his MO and not what he wants. But because of their relationship and their trust and their ability to speak to each other truthfully and sort of as brothers, he's able to sort of say, no, man, like, this is you got to get this done. And whether or not he likes it at first, there's love there, so he listens. So, yeah.